Hello everyone. Today I have something I have been working on for a little bit since the conclusion of the MEWC finals in December of last year. It's sort of a how-to guide of getting into Microsoft Excel World Championships and everything that I could condense from my thoughts as a beginner to qualifying for the main stage in the last chance qualifiers in Las Vegas last month. I've got a few topics going over all aspects of Microsoft Excel competitive case solving, Excel as an esport, and everything that I wish that I knew going into competitive Excel modeling. And the inspiration for the structure of the guide that I'm presenting today comes from Dim and Giles's Excel bootcamp that they prepared for the Road to Las Vegas 2024 season last year, with the first case of the Road to Las Vegas 2025 just 1 week away. Figured it would be a good opportunity to record what I have written down so far and present it for mostly the purpose was for the George Mason University team that I am trying to coach for the Microsoft Excel Collegiate Challenge, but I'm also going to put these thoughts out there on the internet for anyone who is just getting started and might find the information useful. Without further ado, let's just start with the most basic topic. What is an MEWC case? And I have the basic structure outlined here. So, although the topics of each case will differ from challenge to challenge, the structure of each case has remained relatively consistent, especially last year when they sort of standardized everything across the cases. So, all cases encountered live will be accompanied by an introductory video which outlines the case concept and what players can expect to try and solve. This information is useful as some of the best players, cough, dim, uh, will try to create models and custom functions even before the clock begins and they start work on the case. So the information they give you can be incredibly useful to start just getting a brainstorm on how you would approach a specific case. And the amount of time that you have to sort of just get a mental picture extends even further, such as in the live competition in Las Vegas, as they try to get everyone ready, all 64 or so players, to go into the live solves. They have to make sure everyone's technical machines are ready. You might even have 10 to 15 minutes, I think even the last chance qualifier, 30 minutes, to sort of get a mental picture. So it's always good to use that the time you have available. However, you don't have an unlimited amount of time. You have, I believe, at most 45 minutes from when the case is released to begin submitting answers. And if you start late enough, you might even have less time than 30 minutes. But assuming you start the case right when it begins, it's sent out, you watch the video, you'll have 30 minutes to fill in answers on an online form if you are completing the case in real time. Otherwise, if you're completing the case after the fact, then the spreadsheet will have a display of the individual level accuracy and your score in real time. But it's important to note that this information is not available during live gameplay. You won't get that immediate feedback unless you're on the main stage of a live stream or something, and even then you won't know which levels are correct and which are incorrect if you have a partial solution. So each case will have instructions at the start of the spreadsheet outlining the concept, rules, level info, and other relevant information. And just going into what sort of standardized structure we had last year, all the cases had 7 levels, with nearly all going from easiest to hardest in difficulty. And with each level, there are 10 to 25 individual game numbers with different information asked, but all are solved from the same formula, assuming your approach is correct. Each game number awards some amount of points. That's the same points per game number within each level. And generally, the easier the level, the fewer points that you earn per game number. Typically, the easiest levels also have the fewest game numbers as well, meaning that the bulk of the points, my cat just ran out the door, the bulk of the points earned are in the hardest levels. Occasionally, if there's a different type of group of levels, in other words, the what's being asked of the competitor shifts to a great amount from one level to another, the difficulty might decrease as a new sort of question type or approach is done. And when this happens, the case author will generally tell you, hey, if this level 5 is too difficult, level 6 is a little bit easier, just so that you don't leave points on the board getting stuck on one particular uh, level. All cases last year also had 5 bonus questions. In past years, there were cases with only 3, so this gives more opportunities for players to score more points. Some bonus problems can be solved independently to the levels themselves. Others are locked behind completion of specific levels. And bonus problems which are independent are labeled with NA in the column relates to level number, but if a level is required, then that level will be listed in that column. Like the case levels, the bonus questions increase in difficulty with the highest difficulty, earning the most points. And lastly, some few things that are just important notes to have once you have a better foundation of problem solving within a case. The case itself will exist on the sheet named case, at least for the English cases, and the game number will always exist in column B with the level in column C. So that is a brief overview of the structure of cases that you would encounter. So following this, I want to also go into the types of cases that players will encounter. And I've broken them down into 4 different archetypes. Another Microsoft Excel Esport YouTuber, Elliot, who is going to be linked in the other MEWC YouTubers later, um, put a video out on also the types of cases, outlining 3 different ones. I believe that there are 4 main types of cases, that being data, spatial movement, modeling, and problem solving / logic. Now, Ellie and I both agreed that data was one of the big archetypes that you can find for cases. And so let's see what is entailed under the data cases. Well, these are cases where players are asked questions related to one or more tables of data. Oftentimes, you may even be required to connect these tables together to get information from one to another. And frequent types of functions that are required are XLOOKUP, index match, filter, sort or sort by, COUNTIF or COUNTIFs plural, and some true false logic. Additionally, the another type of case category that I believe exists are the spatial / movement problems. And these are cases where players are tasked with navigating some sort of spatial grid, whether that be a map or a board game. These are often accompanied with cell references corresponding to locations on a map, arrows corresponding to movement, and sometimes relating map items on another table like a map directory. Frequent types of functions for these types of cases are indirect, though with new advanced Excel problem-solving theory, the requirement for volatile functions like indirect have had less and less influence, but also addresses and custom lambdas to handle navigating with arrows. I'll get into my thoughts on lambdas later for beginners, but just for now, know that these can be particularly difficult due to what seems like almost requirement to leverage pre-built custom lambda functions or past solves of other types of map problems to work through. And it's also just generally an abstract type of case. These were definitely the hardest types of cases that I found myself encountering when getting started with competitive Excel. And I also want to point out that more often than not, cases won't go under just one type of case. Especially, you might find cases that start off levels 1 through 4 with a data component and then pivot to using that data for the spatial or map component as well. So oftentimes they are hybrid as well. Moving on to the third type of case that I believe exists is modeling. And these are cases where players are tasked with modeling a scenario given some initial conditions or assumptions. Often there is a data table accompanying the case, but the primary goal is to answer questions related to the model that they would be building out to answer them. These are often some of the more difficult cases just because generally the approach of you building the model will be different from case to case. And also, proper reading comprehension is a necessity to make sure that you're establishing your model correctly. Functions will vary, but dynamic array formulas should be used whenever possible, and very useful formulas such as BIRO, scan, and reduce, and other lambdas will be useful. And the last type of archetype is sort of like a miscellaneous category, but these are problem-solving / logic cases. And these are cases where the task is some kind of unique gimmick where it doesn't really fall into the categories above, and you're really tested on your problem-solving skills more than anything, and overcoming this challenge under time pressure. So those are some quick introductions on what is an MEWC case and what the types of cases are. I'm going to conclude the first part here, but going forward you can see the cases that I have on the bottom, and they are the types of cases that I go over, some expectations and goals for someone just starting out in competitive Excel esports, some solution fundamentals, as well as shouting out other MEWC and Excel YouTubers who are working in the space. So hope to see you in the next video. Thank you, and I'll see you then.